The market said, "Profit is everything." Jeff Bezos replied, "Then I will lose everything." He decided to bleed money. While everyone was chasing the now, he built tomorrow. And in the midst of this almost suicidal plan, pizzas became the rule that would shape the most powerful digital empire on the planet. This story is not about pizza. It's about breaking the system. The 90s, e-commerce was a poorly told joke. Buying something online absurd. Nobody trusted. Nobody invested. Nobody believed. While the giants laughed, a guy in a small office with a desk made of doors nailed to the wall. I was about to have the last laugh. Jeff Bezos saw what no one else saw. Not a bookstore, but a whole new planet, still empty, ready to be colonized. While everyone was betting on physical stores, shop windows, malls and bags, a bald, businesslike, former Wall Street worker with a suppressed laugh and a fixed gaze had a vision. He saw beyond the shelves, beyond the checkouts, beyond physical boundaries. He saw a world where no one would need to leave home to buy anything anymore. A world where consumption would be invisible, automatic, inevitable. And he knew whoever mastered this structure would master the future. What if the internet could sell everything? That wasn't a common question. It was a silent bomb, planted in the mind of a visionary. At the time, the internet could barely sell books without crashing. Shipping was slow, trust zero. But Bezos wasn't looking at now. He saw an invisible map being drawn, a global system of deliveries, data, and desires. It wasn't about selling products. It was about predicting what you want before you know you want it. And he was willing to bet everything on that question. Jeff Bezos starts selling books. Books were just the pretext, the perfect product, easy to ship, standardized, millions of titles. But from the beginning, he didn't want an online bookstore. He wanted to create the ultimate digital marketplace. While everyone else saw a book website, he saw a structure that would one day sell everything. From a pin to a refrigerator, from a toothbrush to a rocket. The books were just the bait, the first phase of a meticulously calculated plan to dominate 21st century commerce. Because for Bezos, every click was a piece of data, and every piece of data, a step towards the invisible empire. He wanted to build the everything store. Not a big store, not a variety store, but the last store, the one that eliminates all the others, the one that never closes, the one that knows you better than your mother. A store where there are no salespeople, only algorithms, where there are no queues, just data flowing silently. He didn't want to compete in the market. He wanted to redesign the entire market. And to do that, he would need to destroy everything that retailers believed to be true. But there was one problem: how to grow at maximum speed without turning into a disorganized, slow, and dumb monster. Traditional companies, when they grow, swell, they become full of useless meetings, layers of approval, too many people talking, and no one making decisions. Bezos knew if Amazon went down this path, it would die of suffocation from its own success. He needed a structure that was fast like a startup, but capable of operating like an army. And that's when he created a seemingly idiotic rule, a rule that would change everything. Imagine a team with 20 people in the room, each one with an idea, each one with an urgency, each one wanting to be heard. It looks like collaboration, but it's chaos in disguise. Simple decisions become eternal debates, action stalls, creativity evaporates, and in the end, no one knows who decides what. It's the crowd syndrome. The more people, the slower the march. Bezos looked at this and thought, if I want Amazon to function like a living organism, I need every cell to think for itself. And that is how one of the most bizarre and most ingenious rules in the history of business was born. Bezos then creates a simple rule, almost ridiculous, the kind you'd hear in a hallway. Conversation and think was a joke. If a team can't be fed with 2 pizzas, it's too big. That was it, the 2 pizza rule. From the outside, it seemed like a silly metaphor, but behind it was a brutal organizational code. Small teams, autonomous, responsible for their own mistakes, fast as elite units. There was no time for bureaucracy. There was no room for ego. Each group was a piece of the machine, independent, precise, sharp, and so, while competitors grew like slow-moving dinosaurs, Bezos created a swarm of invisible, unstoppable, hungry ants. If a team can't be fed with 2 pizzas, it's too big. That sentence sounded like a coffee shop joke, but within Amazon, it became law. It wasn't about food. It was about control, speed, responsibility. Small teams make mistakes quickly, learn even faster, and don't need endless meetings to take action. Each team was like a cell with its own brain, a clear mission, and total autonomy. They didn't ask for permission. They delivered results. And if 2 pizzas were enough to feed a team, then that team was enough to power an entire part of Amazon. While the market was thinking about hierarchy, Bezos was thinking about fluidity. And with that, he not only gained time, he gained an advantage. If this story is already surprising you, imagine what's coming next. You haven't seen the part where he decides to lose money on purpose. Not even the moment he ignores investors, breaks all the Wall Street rules, and bet everything on a vision that seemed like corporate suicide. If you've stayed this far, it's because you feel there's something big in this story. So like, subscribe, and turn on your alert, because what comes next could change the way you see business, strategy, and even the future. Trust me, the turnaround hasn't even begun yet. Like and subscribe. But it's not just to help the channel, no. It's because here, we reveal the behind the scenes that no one shows you. The craziest decisions, the riskiest bets, the secrets that turned ideas into empires. If you want to understand the game behind the game, this channel is your place. Here, each video is a key, and each key opens a new door in your worldview. And trust, understanding this mindset isn't just about learning about Amazon. It's changing the way you see companies, money, and even your own career. Because when you understand what drives a strategic genius, you start to see patterns. Where before you only saw luck, you stop reacting to the market and start anticipating the game. This story isn't about Bezos, it's about you. And what are you going to do with that kind of vision? The 2 pizza rule was about more than food. It was a declaration of war against the traditional management model. While companies grew by inflating hierarchies, Bezos was shrinking. As corporations became slow and arrogant, he created small, agile, almost invisible teams. That rule wasn't about cutting pizza. It was about cutting through the noise, eliminate bureaucracy, take the dead weight out of the equation. At Amazon, 2 pizzas fueled not just people, but decisions, speed, and innovation. It was proof that sometimes the simplest ideas hide the most lethal weapons. It was about speed, not the blind rush of the desperate, but the precision of someone who already knows where they are going. It was about agility, of adaptation, of decision, of execution without needing to ask for blessings from 3 superiors. And it was, above all, about autonomy. Each Amazon team operated like a mini company within the giant. No micromanagement, no hang-ups, no excuses. They had the freedom to create and full responsibility for what they delivered. Because Bezos knew if you depend too much on approval, you will never lead anything. Bezos divided Amazon like one divides cells of a living organism. Small teams, independent, almost invisible to outsiders, each one with their own goals, their own decisions, their own pace, no permission needed, no need for cascading managers. They were free to make mistakes and quick to correct them. Each team was a startup within Amazon itself. While traditional companies centralized power, Bezos decentralized intelligence. It was more than a framework. It was a radical philosophy of trust and execution. It was like creating several startups within the same company, but with one brutal difference. All these startups had access to the same central brain, the same technology, the same vision of the future. Each team was as small as a garage, but operated with the strength of a multinational. They had freedom of action, but they were connected by a common mission: to scale the impossible. While other companies tried to maintain control, Bezos unleashed power. And when you have dozens of micro teams running at high speed, all in the same direction, the result is not a company, it's a machine. Bezos didn't win because he was the fastest. He won because he was the only one willing to walk in the opposite direction. While everyone was rushing to show profits, he was rushing to build structure. While the market measured quarters, he thought in decades. He didn't want to be the first one in. He wanted to be the last one out. His victory was not one of speed, it was one of vision, because in the end, the future belongs to those who have the courage to sacrifice the present. And Bezos did. He won because he understood the game before anyone else, before investors, before competitors, before even the customer. While the world saw a book website, it saw a data empire. While others talked about products, he studied behavior. While everyone wanted to sell, he wanted to predict. Bezos understood that true power is not in what you offer, but how much you understand. Who is on the other side of the screen? And when the world finally realized, it was too late. If this story made sense to you, so you already see the world differently than most, because understanding the minds behind Amazon isn't about e-commerce, it's about strategy, it's about vision, it's about the future. And if this impacted you, the next video on the playlist will blow your mind. We're going to reveal how another giant manipulated billions without anyone noticing. Click there and come deeper with us, because here you don't watch videos, you change your mindset. In the next video, we're going to show how Google stole a company that was already worth billions and no one noticed. Not the press, not the users, not the competitors. It was a silent, calculated move, and brutal. A move that transformed a common product into a weapon of global domination. If you think you've seen it all about stealth strategies, you ain't seen nothing yet. But here comes the most shocking detail. It wasn't the technology, it wasn't the speed, it wasn't even that two-pizza rule. It was the most unlikely decision a CEO could make. Bezos looked at the numbers, at the projections, at the shareholder pressure, and he decided, with absolute coldness, Amazon will not make a profit. Not for a month, not for a quarter, but for years. While the entire market was chasing immediate profit, Bezos was after absolute control. And that's when he stopped playing the game and started writing his own rules. While all of Silicon Valley was searching for the next perfect quarter, while CEOs danced for investors, trying to hit short-term targets, while entire companies were being molded to look profitable in reports, Bezos did the opposite. He ignored the charts. He rejected shortcuts. He despised the anxiety of now, because he knew those who build with the quarter in mind will only survive until the next one. But whoever builds with the decade in mind, the century in mind, dominates the game. And that's exactly what he did. While investors demanded profit and analysts screamed for results every 3 months, Jeff Bezos remained silent, serene, unshakable, cold as a surgeon in the midst of chaos. He didn't give in to pressure. He didn't promise a return. He didn't play to the crowd. Because while they were collecting profits, he was building dominance. They wanted nice numbers at the end of the quarter. He wanted no one else to be able to compete in the next 20 years. And the truth, you got it. Jeff Bezos did the unthinkable. While the world screamed for profits, he chose losses. While every CEO was a slave to the quarterly report, he tore up expectations with a smile on his face. He took all the money that came in and reinvested it in technology, in logistics, in servers, in talent. He didn't want to win now. He wanted to make it so no one else could win later. And every penny he failed to make was one more brick in the invisible castle he was building. The market thought he was losing, but Bezos didn't play the same game. This excerpt positions Bezos as a radical strategist, capable of challenging the logic of the entire system and winning. It's ideal for keeping the audience glued to the screen, their admiration growing. Do you want me to continue with the conclusion of this twist? He decided that Amazon would not be profitable, not by mistake, not by accident, but for strategy. Bezos looked at the traditional business model and said, "This isn't good enough." While companies celebrated tight margins, he dug deep. Profit, a momentary luxury. What he wanted was control. Control over logistics, control over data, control over the customer experience from start to finish. And for that, he made the sacrifice that few would have the courage to make: postpone the return to ensure total conquest. Not by mistake, not by accident, by choice. Bezos knew exactly what he was doing. While others were trying to balance the books, he was betting on imbalance. as a weapon. He didn't just want to grow up. I wanted to make it impossible for anyone to reach it. And for that, he needed time, structure, and total control. Profit was a distraction. The real victory would come when the competition gives up, trying to figure out how to compete with someone who doesn't play for the money now. Bezos chose to lose, to ensure that, in the end, only he would be left standing. He looked at the market, for competitors, for the shareholders themselves, and he saw one thing in common in all of them: fear. Fear of taking risks, fear of losing, fear of being the first to think differently. That's when he made the decision that separates the visionaries from the obedient. He didn't seek approval. He didn't ask for permission. He simply executed. And in that moment, Bezos stopped being just a founder, and it began to become a force that the market didn't know how to stop, and said, silently, "I don't want to win now. I want to win forever." There was no need to shout, nor announce it at a press conference. This phrase was engraved on the shares. While everyone else was looking for quick wins, he was planting invisible roots. While the headlines demanded results, he built structures that no one saw, but that would soon support the entire world. Because for Bezos, the game wasn't about winning applause now. It was about ensuring that when the silence fell, only Amazon would still be standing.